People think silence is the scariest part of an empty school at night. They're wrong. The scariest part isn't the silence itself, but the small sounds that don't belong, the ones that break it. When my shift begins, the only sounds echoing in the halls should be the squeal of my cleaning cart's rusty wheels and the rhythm of my own footsteps fading into the void. The nights at this elementary school were my kingdom. I knew every corner, every crack, every irritating buzz of the fluorescent lights by heart, until that night. As always, I started on the 3rd floor. I mopped the hallways, scraped gum from under desks, and emptied the trash in the teacher's lounge. All routine, all boring. Then it was time for classroom 2B, Mrs. Davison's class. When I opened the door, the sharp smell of ammonia was mixed with something else. Something stale, like chalk dust, and the stuffy air from a closet that hadn't been opened in a long time. I flipped on the lights. Everything looked normal. The desks were straight, the floors spotless, until my eyes landed on the blackboard. In the very center, crudely drawn in chalk, was a stick figure family. A mother, a father, and 2 children. It was a normal kid's drawing, except for one strange detail. Where their smiling faces should have had eyes, there was only empty space. They were eyeless. I shrugged. One of the kids probably forgot to erase it after school. I grabbed the eraser and wiped away those blind, meaningless smiles. I went on with my work, hearing nothing but the squeak of the wheels and my own breath. The next night, everything repeated itself. Same routine, same hallways, same silence. When I reached the door to 2B, I felt a strange knot in my stomach. I opened it. That stale smell was there again, stronger this time. I turned on the light, and my heart skipped a beat. The drawing was back. The same family, the same stick figure bodies, the same blind, smiling faces, but with one difference. Yesterday, they were all standing. Tonight, one of the children was lying on the ground. The others still stood beside it, smiling down with their empty eye sockets. "Someone's messing with me," I muttered into the empty classroom. My voice bounced off the walls back at me. Maybe the other janitor, Frank, was playing a joke. But that wasn't Frank's style of humor. I snatched the eraser and scrubbed the board furiously, watching the chalk dust cloud the air. That night, every shadow in the hallway seemed longer, every creak more deliberate. I double-checked all the locks before leaving the school. On the 3rd night, I didn't want to go to 2B. I told myself it was stupid. It was just a prank. But the knot in my stomach insisted otherwise. I opened the door hesitantly. The smell was heavier now. When I hit the lights, my breath caught in my throat. The drawing was there again, and this time, they weren't alone. Standing behind the family was a new figure, tall and pitch black, with arms so long they nearly touched the floor. It had no face, just a dark smear, but its presence was more terrifying than anything else on the board. This wasn't a prank anymore. This was a message. I backed away, my back hitting the door. I scanned the room, the wooden blocks on the playmat. I knew for a fact I'd put them in their bag last night. Now they were carefully arranged in the middle of the mat. They formed a circle, a perfect, unnerving circle. I barely got any cleaning done that night. I felt a pair of eyes on my back every second. The hum of the ventilation system turned into a whisper. The sound of a dripping faucet from a distant hallway sounded like someone counting off steps. On the fourth night, I came to my shift with not just my mop, but a heavy metal flashlight. The door to 2B was ajar. I could have sworn I had shut it securely last night. A cold draft was seeping into the hallway. My heart hammering against my ribs, I gripped the flashlight and slowly pushed the door open. The classroom was dark, lit only by the pale glow of a street lamp outside. I looked at the blackboard. It was blank. That was more terrifying than anything. The pattern was broken. Then I heard it. Tap, tap, tap. A faint, rhythmic sound coming from the small supply closet at the back of the classroom, like a piece of chalk tapping against a board. My footsteps no longer echoed in the hall. They scraped against the linoleum floor. The blood was roaring in my ears. I aimed the flashlight beam at the closet door. The sound stopped. The silence wasn't the innocent silence from the first night. This was a silence that was holding its breath, waiting. What if the closet was empty? What if I was losing my mind? What if it wasn't? I had to know. Taking a deep breath, I gripped the flashlight like a club and, in one motion, yanked the closet door open. The powerful beam of light cut through the darkness inside. Someone was in there. A small body crouched on the floor. It was wearing an old, faded school uniform. It turned its face to me, a child, maybe 10 or 11 years old. Blonde hair fell over its forehead, but its eyes, in the beam of my flashlight, its eyes were completely blank, devoid of life, just like in the drawings. In its hand, it held a small white piece of chalk. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I was frozen. The child looked at me with no trace of fear or surprise. A slow, blind, meaningless smile spread across its face, mirroring the one from its horrible chalk figures. Then it whispered. Its voice crawled through the stale air of the closet and reached me. "It's your turn." In that instant, a switch flipped in my brain. Logic, courage, curiosity, all of it shut off. All that was left was a primal instinct to flee. Without taking my eyes off that empty, smiling face, I stumbled back and slammed the closet door with all my strength. The sound was like an explosion in the silent classroom. I turned and ran. I left the cleaning cart, the supplies, everything, and bolted from the room. The exit at the end of the hall had never seemed so far away. With every step, I could feel that whisper on the back of my neck. I don't remember how I opened the main doors I knew I had locked, nor how I threw myself into the cold night air. When I jumped in my car and sped away, I didn't dare look at the school in the rearview mirror. The next morning, with trembling hands, I burst into the office of the principal, Mr. Roberts. With eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep, I told him everything, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The drawings, the toys, the smell, and finally, the child in the closet. Its blind smile and its whisper. As I described the child, Mr. Roberts leaned back in his chair, the color slowly draining from his face. He listened to me without blinking. When I finished, a long, heavy silence filled the room. That's impossible, he whispered. The child you're describing, blonde hair, pale face, wearing an old-style uniform. That's Leo. Who's Leo? I asked. my voice shaking. The principal took a deep breath. Leo was a student here years ago, a very strange, withdrawn boy. He had problems at home, and he treated this school as his real home. Sometimes he'd hide and stay in the building overnight without anyone noticing. That closet, that was his favorite spot. He paused, as if crushed by the weight of what he was about to say. 5 years ago, after a long winter break, they found him inside that closet. He was dead. My blood turned to ice in my veins. How did he die? That's the strangest part, Mr. Roberts said, avoiding my gaze. The official report says hypothermia. He froze to death, but the heat was on full blast in the school that day, and the closet door wasn't locked. There wasn't a single sign of struggle on his body. The doctors could never find a logical explanation. I took a week off that day, but I never went back to that school again. Even during the day, the building's shadow fell over me, and at night, every creak of my own house made me jump. I quit the job. I can't work at night anymore. Sometimes, even now, when I'm alone in my house and I start to open a dark closet door, I hesitate for a moment, because I know that the empty, smiling face and that whisper weren't just a trick of my tired mind. They were real, and I had unwillingly brought a piece of that school's damned hallways home with me.